We're still joined live by Calvin Robinson, who has returned to talk radio after yesterday's pretty heated debate where Calvin, you, I think understandably to many people, chose to end the conversation that you were having with the Stop and Search campaigner Ken Hinds over Meghan Markle and whether it was racist, Piers Morgan's comments towards her and the like. Let's now remind ourselves of the minutes leading up to your decision to leave the interview.
First and foremost, my race to do with you. It has nothing to do with my politics, nothing to do with my opinions. And I don't appreciate you saying I need to stick by my own. My own is my family. My own is my Christian brothers and sisters. My own is my British community. Do not dare to tell me that my own is decided by the color of my skin. Who the hell do you think you are?
I'm an expert because I'm black, so I can talk
in the
about
color of my skin? You
from a historical past. And you're not. If you want to deny that part of you,
I put it
that's
to you
down
that you are a racist.
Oh yes, I can't.
Opinion I need to have based on the color of my skin. That is outrageous. That is ridiculous. I don't know who you think you're talking to.
How can you call me a racist when I defend black people for many years on Stop and Search?
Because you're telling a mixed race person what to think based on the color of their skin. And that's not okay.
I'm telling
that's not appropriate. That is racist.
Well, you better deal with your historical trauma because it's quite clear you need some counselling.
I have no historical trauma.
I mean, Ken, let me just jump in a second here. I mean, Ken, do you get the point that Calvin is making? I mean, you're bringing in the fact that he is a mixed race man and essentially saying, well, look, this is not potentially an opinion you should be holding based on the fact that you're a mixed race man. And there are some people, if I said to you that I don't think you should hold a certain opinion, Ken, because of your skin colour, you would rightly accuse me of being racist. You would say that that's not an appropriate thing to say to you. So why, I think Calvin's point, if you don't mind me saying, Calvin, is that you are attributing an opinion he has to the skin colour he has, and that is certainly or surely seen as problematic.
Well, simply speaking, that we're suffering from systemic racism in this country. Whether the Tony Steele report,
where's your evidence?
Or whatever,
that's nonsense.
Right, since that. But I'm just saying this is what I've experienced. And if he hasn't experienced, I would like to know which part of England that he was born or he grew up in and never experienced any racist banter coming back at him. And when we got the press that is.
Are we going to mute him eventually so I can speak?
Against people.
All right, Ken, you've asked Calvin a lot of questions there. Now, please just let him answer and don't try not to interrupt him. Calvin, the floor's yours.
So, I have an opinion based on Meghan from what I've heard, from what I've seen. I don't like her as a person. I don't like what she's done to this country. I don't like the way she's treated a British institution. I think it's inappropriate. I think many people share my opinion. The colour of her skin has nothing to do with it. I don't dislike her because of the colour of her skin, and I shouldn't like her because of the colour of her skin. That would be racist. Now, for you to stand here and tell me that I need to like her or not like her because of the colour of her skin and because of the colour of my skin, that too is racist. And to tell me that this country has systemic racism without providing any evidence, without providing any proof, and then to refer to your own personal experience as proof is a nonsense. You might have experienced racism as an individual. That does not make it systemic. And don't question my past, don't question my upbringing. That's nothing to do with you. It's nothing to do with this conversation, this debate. We are discussing a celebrity who has married into the British royal family. We're discussing whether she has lied on national television, and we're discussing the appropriateness of a British journalist to question her integrity. My race, my childhood, my background has absolutely nothing to do with the conversation, and for you to bring that up and to raise that and to use that against me and to weaponize my race is racist. And I've frankly had enough of this conversation, and I no longer want to engage with you, Ken.
And there was where it ended. How do you feel? Calvin joins me now live via video link. Calvin, firstly, how do you feel listening to all of that back today?
It's frustrating on so many levels because there's so much to break down in what was said. And, I had a go at providing an answer, but there's still many things to be said about it. For example, that you can't be racist because you defend black folk. That's a clear misunderstanding of what racism means. Racism is prejudice or discrimination against someone based on their ethnicity. It doesn't. You can't be excused from racism because you're black. That's not how it works. Racism is not white versus black, and we need to get away from that ridiculous rhetoric and look at facts and figures and move beyond all of this nonsense around systemic racism. We can't pin our own personal individual experiences on systemic racism without any evidence to back it up. And the report that came out last week clearly showed that there are many racial disparities in this country, but it didn't find any evidence of systemic or institutional racism. And to say that someone's an expert in me or my life because they're black, again, is a nonsense. And to suggest that I need to stick to my own, my own is not a club based on my race. I don't belong to black people, and I don't belong to the left.
You need counselling based on your history and your perception of what your history should be.
I mean, if any person in that conversation had historic trauma, it wasn't me, was it? I'm not the one obsessed with things that happened 400 years ago to people that I don't know. So the whole thing is a nonsense, and I think I respect you for trying to debate the gentleman, Christo, but you did say that it was problematic. It wasn't problematic. It was racist, and you should have called it out for being racist, I think.
Fair point. Trying to be a bit of I was trying to moderate and trying to keep everyone happy, I think, and you're quite right. If I think that there is. I think that I am a little bit guilty sometimes of having a fear of calling out racism the other way. And I get angry on this program, I call it out, but I find it quite difficult when talking to someone to call it out because I never think you fight racism with racism. It infuriates me that people believe that you can repair the racism in the past by being racist today towards white people or actually anyone else. That doesn't solve racism. You don't solve racism by having reverse racism. Maybe it will make certain people feel better, but that actually isn't going to be a better society.
Well, Christo, it's not reverse racism. Racism is just racism. To suggest it's reverse means that only white people can be racist towards black people, and if it's the other way around, it's reverse. No, if a person discriminates against someone else or is prejudiced against someone else based on their ethnicity, it is racist, and that is what racism is.
Do you think that there is a narrative you face? Well, I know the answer to this question, but do you think that because you are someone who fights against the idea that every single black person's history and every single black person's experience is going to be that of a racist experience, because you argue against the fact that we are a racist society? You don't argue against racism existing. I know you don't. We've had that conversation. But you argue about us being against us being an institutionally racist society. Do you think that there is a narrative online that you're seen as some sort of traitor to your colour, to your history, to whatever?
Of course. And like I said earlier, 99% of the people responding to this clip have been positive, and thank you for that. But the ones that have been negative have been saying, Calvin's denying that racism exists, and putting words into my mouth that I haven't actually said. So I want to be really, really clear right now. Racism does exist. It is an issue that we as a society need to work on. But the UK is not a racist country because individuals within it can be racist at times. Last night was evidence that people in this country are still racist. That was proof of someone being racist towards me. Anyone can be racist. Anyone can experience racism. And that's something we need to acknowledge again and get away from this ridiculous argument that only certain people can be racist towards other people because it's an issue of power. And I also want to be clear that I am not oppressed. Please do not try to tell me that I'm oppressed. In this country, we have equal opportunities. We're working towards meritocracy. This is one of the greatest places in the world to live, which is why I choose to live here. Not just the fact that I was born here and my family were born here, but I choose to live here because it's an amazing place to live. And, I would say that Rishi Sunak isn't oppressed. Priti Patel isn't oppressed. Kwasi Kwarteng isn't oppressed. Alok Sharma isn't oppressed. These are people who are cabinet members in our government. You can achieve success. You can reach the top levels of our society over here. That is evidence against systemic racism and institutional racism. We have a mixed race member of the royal family at this point, which is what the whole conversation was supposed to be about. So if you can achieve anything, if you can reach the highest echelons of our society, how, therefore, is it racist? And yes, people do experience racism, but that doesn't mean the whole system is against you. People need to move away from this victimhood mentality.
Well, that is what I also find a bit confusing, because, you know, you are obviously a young man who's done really well at articulating all of this. You've got a really good platform on this radio station, on various other media to do that. But I've seen some of the replies today, and you're right, overwhelmingly, loads of them are positive. That is brilliant. But I just want to read you one of them that I've responded to as well. I'm not going to read the Twitter handle, but it's from someone who has the idea, and I'll read it to you. You keep appeasing them, Calvin. You have a shelf life before they shun you. Now, I've replied to that saying, well, who the hell do you mean by they? Because that's racist in itself by suggesting they, white people, I presume. But do you get the impression that some people, not all, but some black people, they don't want to celebrate your achievements? They're angry at you, and they think that there's an idea that you're sort of wheeled out, that you're going to be dropped at some point. Once you've been useful to me and others, you're going to be shunned.
Yeah, how patronising is that?
It's so rude. It's so rude
success,
as well.
It's only at the hand of the white man, and the white man is giving them that temporarily, and they're going to remove it at some point. How patronising and condescending is that? That's trying to hold people back, again, based on their colour of their skin. And it's also assigning views and principles to people based on the colour of their skin. It's silly. It's racist segregation. It's supporting the idea of white supremacy. That's what it's doing. These people on the left are just as racist as the people on the far right.
Well, let's remind ourselves of when I then tried to, once you'd left the conversation, with your blessing, even though I didn't have it at the time, but I knew I'd get it, if that makes sense. I tried to sort of allow Ken to clarify his position, perhaps to see the error of what he'd said. And, well, let's just hear some of that. But Ken, if he wants to be in
denial, that's his problem.
Ken, he's allowed to hold a different opinion, and that doesn't make him some sort of traitor to the colour of his skin. The colour of his skin shouldn't actually make a difference to the way in which you're perceiving what he's saying. Do you not understand why he might be offended by that? Because again, I will use the same analogy. If I said to you, Ken, you are not allowed to hold that opinion, you're not allowed to hold an opinion about white people because of the colour of your skin, you would say to me, rightly, how dare you are being racist. And Calvin, you have just done exactly the same thing to him.
I didn't say that he's not allowed to hold it. I'm saying I'm surprised he's talking that way. So I can have my belief, as from a person coming from my background, who, as I said, and the work that I've been doing for the last.
So why can't he have his belief when he's not when he's mixed race? You directly reference though the fact that he's mixed race.
But he doesn't have to be so emotional about it, because it shows quite clearly that something is triggered him. And if Piers Morgan could go out there and spout mistruth, but it's all right for him to then jump on the back of that and then to spout that off about another person to say that she's damaged your royal family, that's rubbish.
But what's his race got to do with that, Ken? The fact that he's mixed race, what's that? Why bring that into the conversation? That's the point that he's got a problem with.
What did Diana do? It's all right for Diana to do it, but I didn't hear him talk about Diana and rubbishing the royal family or bringing them into disrepute. But yet, poor Meghan, who's a visitor.
And that is a valid opinion. You're welcome to critique him on the fact that he didn't bring in Diana. You're welcome to critique him on the fact that he's defending Piers. You're welcome to critique him on the fact you disagree with him. Where I think you have crossed the line is bringing in the fact that he's mixed race. Somehow you are implying that his opinion is less valid based on the fact that he is non-white. And I think that that's offended him. Anything that you've heard there that has made you feel differently about Ken's opinion?
I think well played to you, Krista, because you can't argue with ignorance. That's a fool's game. You asked a simple question, you didn't get an answer. I don't know what Princess Diana's got to do with me being a mixed race or our conversation around Meghan Markle. The woke and the left try to generalize us. They attempt to shove us in these boxes to control us. They put us in these categories with these labels, and we need to free ourselves from these shackles. And the left do not own me. Nobody owns me. Ken does not own me or my opinion. And if we want to really address race issues in this country and improve race relations, even more than we already have, first of all, we need to celebrate the success and the progress we have made. But secondly, we can only get there together. So people need to stop the race baiting and stop the race hustling and join the cause for real if they want us to be one nation. And I don't think that's what happened last night.
Because I think that the identity politics, I think the issue with identity politics is, you know, I'm a gay man. I talk about that a lot, and people give me a bit of stick for that.
No.
But yeah, I know it's very, very surprising to you, Calvin, and a disappointment, no doubt. However, I don't mean it like that. I mean, you know what I mean. But the problem is that when you are something, a minority, perceived to be a minority, there is then immediately, isn't there, a certain list of opinions that you are expected to hold. We have an interesting situation in the gay scene community at the moment as well, in as much as if you are gay, you are expected to have the same opinion as everyone else on lesbian rights, gay rights, bisexual rights, transgender rights, non-binary rights, all of those sorts of issues, which sometimes can be in conflict with each other. And anyone that sort of strays outside or says, well, actually, look, I think we should hear the other side here, or I think actually there's another point to be made, as I do sometimes, as you do within the set of opinions you're supposed to hold, the very community that you are supposed to be a part of, the very minority that people will attribute you to, will turn on you more viciously than anyone who would have held prejudice towards you in the past.
Yeah, I get this a lot. It's, Calvin, you do not speak on behalf of the black community. Well, no, I don't. I speak for myself. I've never claimed to speak on behalf of any community. And in fact, I don't even recognize the black community. I don't think that's a thing in this country. I don't think it exists. My family were, half my family were white English, half my family are black Caribbean. And the black Caribbean side of my family came over here and integrated very well into this society and are part of British culture. There is no separate black community. And if there were, then you'd be talking about black African, black Caribbean, black Somali, you know, all these different cultures that are completely, it wouldn't make any sense to homogenize them under one group. So it's a nonsense, first of all, to say that there is a black community, but secondly, to say that I'm attempting to speak on behalf of them, when I honestly speak from my own personal experience. And that's what upsets them the most, because they talk so much about lived experiences and use these lived experiences, which is a stupid tautology, as a reason to explain systemic racism, when we know that these are individual anecdotes, and that's not how this works. And this is why I was so frustrated last week with the CRED report, because it looks at racial disparities, it finds problems in our society and provides solutions to fix them, and says, actually, when we see a racial disparity, that's not automatically evidence of racism occurring, but it is an issue in society that needs to be fixed. And it could have something to do with your class and your wealth and your family background and family structure. All these elements in our society have a play on where we are. And yes, our race does come into it sometimes, but just to assume that everything is racist is not helpful to the cause that we're trying to fight here, which is unity.
Why do you think that it invokes so much anger from people? Why do I get so much anger? Why do you get so much anger when we stray from the party line, so to speak?
Because we're disrupting the narrative. The moment we step outside of the box that they've assigned us, we are breaking down their argument. And their argument is that we all think this, and therefore you need to attribute this to us.
But that's as homophobic or racist as other people attributing those opinions to us.
Of course it is. And you were right last night as well when you said that if a white person had said what Ken said, everyone would be in uproar, calling him a racist. So what we need to do is reclaim that word, first of all, reclaim our language, and then start calling people out when they do it and not be afraid. And I'm saying that to you, Christo, as well as everyone else that's listening. If you see someone be racist or use racial slurs, it doesn't matter what color they are. If they are being racist, call them out on it. And then that's the only way we can prevent it from being acceptable for some people and not for others, because it's not okay. That's not equality. And neither is assigning people's views based on the color of their skin, or saying that we can't criticize people because of the color of their skin, which is the other argument around Meghan Markle.
I think there is a fear among some white people to call out anti-white racism. I think that there is a fear among some straight people to call out anti-straight narratives. I think that there is a fear now within the majority, and I think that has become as a result of some identity politics. I think it's become as a result of cancel culture, of sort of Twitter mob culture, of all of those things. I think that fear exists. I do.
It does, and the only way we can get rid of it is sticking our head above the parapet and getting on with it and announcing that, yeah, that's racist or that's homophobic and saying it. And also, paradoxically, to stop talking about these things, to stop talking about race and stop bringing race into every single argument, whether it's relevant or not. Last night, for example, we were talking about Piers Morgan, whether he was appropriate to criticise Meghan Markle or not, and whether Meghan Markle had lied or damaged British institutions. Her race shouldn't be the main topic of conversation. My race certainly had nothing to do with the topic of conversation. So the fact that it was brought into it as a tool to shut down the debate, it just proves that identity politics is toxic and divisive and doesn't help anything in our society.
Well, listen, Cal, before we let you go, I just want to, if you can stand it, and because I know you would want Ken to have a fair hearing on this programme as well, I just want to play you the second part of my attempting to challenge Ken to find out whether anything that he says changes any of your views that you've had since last night or makes you have a more sympathetic voice, sympathetic feeling towards him. And also I want to know what you would say to him now after you hear this. So let's hear the second part of my trying to challenge Ken on his words to you. I think what he felt you were doing was critiquing his opinions based on his skin colour, which was why you referenced it. And surely that's something you've fought against all your life, Ken. That's something that you've tried to stop people feeling. You don't want people feeling that their opinions are compromised or being silenced based on their skin colour. And so I think that the fact you referenced it is the thing that's problematic.
Well, maybe the first time he's now realizing that he's mixed race, because up until then,
again, that's
he must have been something else.
That's so really offensive, Ken. That's offensive.
Well, he can take it. You guys can take it as you like, but if, as I said, from where I'm sitting and the things that I've gone through, I don't see what makes him so privileged. I mean, less so, right? He's supposed to be we're all in the same boat and we're all fighting to get some sort of equality. And we're not going to get it when you can get other people fighting out.
Maybe Calvin feels like there is equality. Look, he's quite capable of arguing for himself, but maybe he feels that there is equality. Maybe he feels that there isn't the fight that you feel is there. He has the right to hold that opinion and to say something like, well, maybe he's forgotten he's mixed race. Again, that would be offensive. If I said to you during a debate, Ken, well, maybe, Ken, you've forgotten you're black, that would be something you would take offensively. You wouldn't welcome me saying that in a debate, would you?
No, I wouldn't take offense to that. I would have to check in with myself and say, you know what, Christo, you got a point there.
You would not, Ken. That is absolutely ridiculous. You would not do that. You would not say that. You would be angry I had said something like that to you, and you would be right to be angry, because I'm not going to invalidate or dismiss something you've said based on the fact that you are black. That is what you fight against, Ken. That is what you come on radio stations to fight against. I don't buy it for a second that if I were to say to you, well, Ken, I think that opinion proves you've forgotten you're black, you would, rightly, absolutely tear my head off for that.
Christo, I beg to differ, and I said I'm sorry if it's perception and if you feel hurt by that, but I feel that he should have more of a backbone than to allow something of a comment to make him then feel that he has to no longer take part in this conversation. We were doing all right, so I can't understand why he's making it so personal. But I will give him I will personally go and counsel him to give him some backbone if that's what he needs.
Well, I don't think you're making things better by saying that. I don't think it's a question of backbone, Ken. I think it's a question of what's appropriate in a debate, and referencing someone's skin colour in a negative way I always thought was racism. So there you go. I did say it, racism.
Thank you. Wow.
Had you heard that before?
No, I hadn't. I don't believe in ad hominem attacks, but all I want to do is call him names right now. It's ridiculous, the stuff that he just said, that I need more of a backbone. First of all, this is a problem. So this is a big problem that I talk about sometimes, because in this country, and I'm not a politician, and he seems to think I was a Conservative MP. Someone should have told him that I'm not. But the reason we have the politicians we have in this country is because we have the politicians that we deserve. And we're always attacking them personally. We're very hostile to our politicians. We treat them like dirt. And that's why we don't get people that with strong principles and strong morals, particularly standing up to join Parliament. Because why would you? Why should you have to have a strong backbone? What we want is more normal people and more people with strong ethics and morals to stand up and become parliamentarians. But why would you when there's people like this attacking you? And to say he can't understand why I took it personal, he simply doesn't understand what he's done or said. And I don't think you were right to say that this is what he's been fighting against. I think what he fights against is the white man. And I think he has a victimhood mentality. And you asked me what I would say to him. I would say, sorry, Ken, but your race card has been declined, mate. Come back and try again. You know?
If he is, as the representative of someone who is against an organisation that is against stop and search, he does not want certain traits, certain opinions, certain ideas attributed negatively towards someone based on their race. That is what he does claim to fight against. And that was, I was trying to make him see why what he was saying to you was wrong, because it's the precise opposite of what he claims to fight against.
Saying that it's the first time I've realised I'm not mixed race, just because my opinion doesn't match what he thinks a mixed race person's opinion should match. The skin colour, my skin color is not a personality type any more than it is values or principles or morals or anything. It is literally just the amount of melanin in my skin, and it is an accident of birth based on my parents, one being white, one being black. That is all it is. If I had both black parents, I would be black. If I had both white parents, I'd be white. I happen to have one of each, so I'm mixed race. That's all it is. It means nothing more to my personality or my lifestyle or my politics or anything. And for him or anyone else to suggest it does makes them a racist. If we really want equality, he said we're all in the same boat fighting for equality. If we truly want equality, we want equality of diversity and of thought and opinion. We want people of all skin colors, all ethnicities, creeds, religions to be able to have and hold whatever opinions and beliefs they want and choose to have, and not to have them assigned based on their appearance or their immutable characteristics. That is ridiculous. People need to wake up.
How are you feeling?
Slightly miffed, to be honest, slightly annoyed. I think after you spent a good, nearly 10 minutes talking to the guy, he doesn't seem to have understood what you were trying to say. And I think that's another issue we have in our society at the moment. Everything is so polarized. I'm on one side, he's on the other side. How do we meet in the middle and say, look, if we all truly do want equality, this is the way to go about it? Or how do we get around this issue of everything being so binary?
Well, look, I hope you're all right. I'm glad you didn't say upset. I think I'm more happy that you're angry than upset, because I wouldn't want you to be upset by that. And we tried to make Ken see that perhaps what he had been saying was wrong. And I'm going to invite Ken onto this program tomorrow. If he chooses to come on, that's all right. We'll send you a copy, Calvin. You can listen in the bath, and we'll see whether he's got any kind of remorse for his comments. We'll see whether he chooses to come on. I know that you would want him to have a fair hearing. I know that you would want him to be given the opportunity to perhaps be seen that his comments are racist, because that's what they were. Is there anything else you'd like to finish on, Calvin? Anything else you want to say?
Just what I always say, that we spend so much time looking at the things that divide us. It's about time we stopped all this nonsense and looked at the things that unite us. We are all British, whatever colour, religion, whatever we are, whatever sexuality, it doesn't matter. We're all in this community together. We need to work together to make it a better society for the next generation and stop bickering between ourselves. Let's unite. Less division, please.
And also, we can have a conversation about, what's most frustrating is that it was actually okay to reference, if you believe that there's been some racism towards Meghan Markle, that's fine to have that conversation, to hold that opinion. If Ken thinks that, Ken thinks that. But if you don't, that's what's so frustrating, is that it's almost... it's just this idea that you can't talk about race unless you're a certain person. You can't talk about race and hold an opinion about it unless you're a certain colour. You can't be seen to betray what you are supposed to be. And that is so frustrating, because nothing's ever going to change. Nothing's ever going to change if that's how we're thinking. It's always going to remain completely binary. And there are going to be some black people that think racism doesn't exist that much. There are going to be some white people that think racism is a huge problem. There's going to be some straight people that don't think homophobia exists. There are going to be some straight people that think homophobia is rife. All those people can hold those opinions without having it thrown at them, whatever race or sexuality they may be. Can't we just talk about it? Can't we just debate it?
And let's respect people's opinions as well. Let's not just assume that because their opinions aren't the same as ours, they must be either paid by someone or told what to think by someone else or wheeled out by someone of a different race, or they
Wheeled
are...
out. You get that all the time. Wheeled out. You are wheeled out. Do you know even a caller said that after it, and I pulled them up on it last night after you came off air. Oh, you know, I just feel like Calvin's wheeled out. And it's like, even that is racist. You know, let's wheel you out when we need to get a certain opinion. And it's not. And I want you to know, you are welcome on this programme whenever. You will not be set aside, dropped, or whatever else. While I am in this chair, you will be welcome on this programme anytime.
Thank you, Christo. Thank you.
I don't even need to say that. It's just frustrating that you kind of feel like you have to. And any of those idiots listening who think that you're wheeled out or whatever, I get you on because you do have great opinions, and sometimes we disagree and sometimes we agree. And
but we disagree well, don't we? And that's what we need to learn how to do a lot more. You know, my opinions are formed on my life experiences growing up in this country. No one told me what to think. And to assume that someone has because of the color of my skin, again, people who are assuming that I'm wheeled out, people who are assuming that I'm paid, people who are assuming that the white man is saying what to think, they are the racists. They need to look at themselves long and hard in the mirror and think, why do I think that guy should think something else because of the way he looks? What is that?
Yeah, it's racism. It's racism.